Hello, respected viewers. It's George from Ireland. Yeah, thank you for coming back to my channel, and make sure that you watch everything afterwards. See me on access to thousands of my articles if you join me on Patreon. But anyway, this is about what's going on in North Britain. The Scottish National Party, which has pledged to break up the UK, is in office there. It's heading the Scottish government at Holyrood. But it's been an awful lot of trouble because obviously HamzaYousaf became leader of the party and First Minister of Scotland just a month ago. And he's really had a relentless stream of bad news. It seems to be States women resigning, people being arrested, extensive police investigations into its murky finances. Seen this can be a huge black hole in its finances, people resigning from the party in droves, so on and on and on. I mean, and if that's not enough, already the domestic outlook was bleak. The economy is stagnant. The NHS waiting lists are getting longer and longer. There's severe shortages of doctors and nurses, and likewise, there are teachers on strike, and they will coordinate the primary school go on strike this day and the secondary school on the next day. So teachers are missing out on that much salary by not working. Yet it's obviously disrupting parents, particularly if you've got, say your daughter in secondary school and your son in primary school or something like that. So either Monday or Tuesday, well, both days are going to be messed up for the parents, and there's no end in sight to that one. So really are no bright sparks on the horizon. Obviously, their raison d'être to take Caledonia out of the United Kingdom and then to rejoin the European Union. Well, there's this no pathway to achieving that because they're not going to get a second referendum. Westminster's refused that. The United Kingdom Supreme Court said you can only do it with Westminster's say so. And so forth. And the SNP say this is democracy denial, but obviously people have got bread and butter issues to worry about, not rerunning a referendum that was held only 9 years ago. And so how are we going to put, bread on the table? What's this got to do with the price of the fish and all this and public services? So policing's in disarray. They're trying to reform the judicial system and to reduce the presumption of innocence, to get rid of the not proven verdict, to get rid of people's right to trial by jury. So really, it's an assault on civil liberties, but cheered on by much of the political elite, by Labour and the Liberal Democrats. The Scottish Conservatives, I'm afraid to say, not speaking out against this retrograde step. Anyway, so HamzaYousaf, it just seems that he's inherited a mother load of bad news, and his personal ratings were low. This is his honeymoon, and he's already got, it's already sunk even lower. So wow, it just gets worse and worse. And yet, the SNP is still ahead in the polls. They got 38% in the polls. And, Nicola Sturgeon, she was First Minister for 8 years. And despite things getting worse under her reign by almost every metric, she had enviable approval ratings, was a 10% approval rating, which would be coveted by any political leader after 8 years in office. Usually there's a honeymoon and then it gradually diminishes. But, hers was consistently high and what a plateau. But the SNP is still several points ahead of Labour. The Scottish Labour Party is on about 30% of the vote. The Conservatives down to like 20%. The Liberal Democrats a bit behind that. So at the moment, the SNP is poised to win the next Holyrood elections in about 2 years' time. After 16 years in office and halfway through a parliamentary term, one would expect them to be unpopular, and you'd anticipate them to continue to lose support next year, but to recover it in the last year, and maybe even enough to win. But HamzaYousaf, I mean, he could even lead them to victory next time. Surely not majority government. They don't even have a majority government now. They got a confidence and supply agreement with the Scottish Green Party, so they can maybe get one of those again, limp along like that. Would the Liberal Democrats prop them up as a coalition? I don't think see Labour doing that if they're the single biggest party. They could try governing as a minority party even without Green support or coalition with the Lib Dems, or indeed confidence and supply from the Liberal Democrats. But having been in office for so long, I think the Lib Dems reckon it would be wrong of them to prop up the SNP either formally or informally. Could there be, a Labour Lib Dem coalition, as the one of the early years of Donald Dewar and Henry McLeish, with Jim Wallace, the Liberal Democrat leader, as the deputy first minister? So it's been pretty dreadful, and there's carping from all sides. So several former SNP ministers have had their collars felt, have been interrogated by the Scottish police. For some reason, when I call them Police Scotland, charges preferred. It's likely at least a few of them we found guilty of something. And who's going to donate to a party in such a terrible state of disarray? But the surprising is actually not worse for the SNP, but they're doing well despite HamzaYousaf, not because of him. In some ways, he seems like the perfect person. Look at his backstory, an ethnic minority person, a Glaswegian. Remember, the SNP did better in the countryside. They often performed poorly, particularly in Scotland's metropolis, which is Glasgow. And he's also a young politician. He's only 37. So, he could be in politics for decades to come, even if he loses office this time. I mean, the bad side about him is he's not terribly charismatic. He was a woeful health minister. In fairness to him, he said, we can't recruit the medical staff. These doctors and nurses, about 40% of them came from the European Union. Now, because of Brexit, they can't simply just come. It's a cumbersome process. They've got to apply to the Home Office in London. And remember, North Britain has absolutely zero control over immigration. Only the United Kingdom does. Of course, in which case, Scotland's represented in the UK Parliament. So you say otherwise, if we left the UK, it'd be easier. We could endorse some more immigration, particularly of healthcare professionals. So he's not done a particularly good job of it. So although he's fairly popular with SNP party members, he's not so popular with the general public. Would one of the others, Ash Reagan, have been a better bet, or indeed Kate Forbes? I think Kate Forbes narrowly, actually, just because she didn't approve of gay marriage. I didn't. That would have hurt her very much. Seen as a Christian fundamentalist, but Mr. Yousaf is obviously a practicing Muslim. Indeed, he was doing Ramadan, but he doesn't seem to espouse some views on moral issues that are Islamic inspired. Anyway, so it's hard not to feel a little bit sorry with him because he's inherited, the perfect storm like that. But Nicola Sturgeon is at least keeping stum, and she's not being a backseat driver. Alex Salmond, the erstwhile leader of the party, who led it from 1990 to 2014, with only a hiatus of 4 years from 2000 to 2004, an interregnum when John Swinney was there. Again, he's not been taking too many swipes. He's got his own political party, Alaba. Well, I would say it's a one-man band, but they've got two people in Westminster, former Scottish National Party members of Parliament. So, yeah, HamzaYousaf will limp on, but, he could yet win the next election. Possibly they'll kick him out and get somebody more credible, as they had to do when John Swinney just wasn't cutting the mustard. What else? Is he going to be the Liz Truss of North British politics? But he's not brought in any U-turn policy. He doesn't really have any bright ideas. And there was the idea of treating the next Holyrood election as a referendum, but that's problematic. And it's fraught with difficulties because, of course, one's voting for individuals, not just policies. And there's a whole gamut of policies. There's healthcare, education, the economy, criminal justice, policing, transport, as well as constitutional issues, matters of identity, whatever. It's not simply whether you want to leave the United Kingdom. So thanks so much for watching my channel. Goodbye.